Well, last time I felt like it was
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Okay. So. Yeah, I was like,
She got that straight. It's more geared towards people who are just. But,
That would be better because. Right, if they have. Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
well, so,
Yeah, 1 a.m. Yeah, I get it all the time. Yeah, what I have, all of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, on the like, he was pretty excited. And not the side part, that's where our, weird. But yeah, I mean, we still do food and beverage and retail revenue because there's still some more.
yeah, I mean, these were.
Every little bit.
Oh, there we go. And we didn't propose other food because at the time. Well, and it was yeah. I don't think we could have actually soon have been right. Yeah. A lot of stuff will be right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what that part, we got more food.
Yeah, my husband's happy at my daughter's versus that's where I think he's weak. If you don't. So they just don't want to fight.
It's very quiet and it's 8:30, so I guess it's a good time to get started. Would you like to do the roll call?
Vasconcelos,
Here.
Bossiger, Carlson,
Here.
Cunningham,
Here.
General Donellan, absent, Nancolis,
I am here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Village, Agent, one absent, we have a quorum.
The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Any changes or corrections? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. And with that, we're ready for your report.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I have a director's report, and then this morning we're also going to hear from Kathleen on our airport budget coming up. So I'll go through this and I'll be happy to answer any questions about things that have happened in the last month. Assuming that there we go. It's great when we can get the technology to work. We'd like to cover just what we're doing in terms of operations and runway closures, because we know that impacts our community Basically, during the month of April, we only had routine runway closures for maintenance on a variety of different days. So nothing unusual there. Our public garage construction continues. As you come in, you can see it. Level 5 is underway. The deck for the vehicle ramps is continuing. And we're looking at ceiling paint now on the first level of the garage. And our partner on the project, McIlvain, who's our contractor, held a topping out party. That's a celebration of when the garage reaches its highest point. And you can see the statistics there for all of the work that was done. Hours of work, square feet of slab, rebar used. It's a very substantial project. And we're excited to see it come to fruition later this summer. Employee parking garage continues as well. This is the latest and greatest on the employee garage. They're working on the elevator stair tower. We're up to level 2, and then the forms are in place for level 3. This is again the one that you can see very clearly from the interstate. We're working on a taxi lane delta pavement rehab. We're expecting to start construction in May, in the middle of May, and it'll be closed for about 30 days, and there'll be a temporary lead-in line so that way aircraft can access the gates. And then some of you had an opportunity to attend the Chamber Leadership Conference in Sun Valley. I did present. This year's theme was trains, planes, and automobiles. Personally, I like to see planes first, but I didn't name it. But we did present at the conference, and we had some very good media coverage about some of the things that we're working on here. During that same time period, we sent Sean to the Allegiant conference. Allegiant is an airline that actually hosts their own conference. And Sean attended in Las Vegas for us a couple weeks ago. And overall, they're pleased with the Boise airport routes and how they're performing. So that was good news. And we also participated as a sponsor in the International Roundup, and Carrie might have more to say about this in her comments, but 50 international buyers came to Boise to understand what the tourism opportunities are in our region. And again, we were just a sponsor of that. We will be hosting an airport cybersecurity training here at the Boise Airport. It's being put on through in partnership with the TSA and INL, and it's for airport IT people. Cybersecurity is a growing focus, and we have some new requirements for cybersecurity as part of our transportation security plan. And so we'll be hosting that. It's no cost to the people who attend. It's being put on by TSA and INL. So excited to host that. And we also hosted Take Your Child to Work Day. And we had a number of employees who brought their children to work on the 27th. They got to learn about the firefighters, and the canines, and the big snow removal trucks. It's always a huge hit. A huge thanks to Shauna for putting that together, to everyone who helped. We have some well-deserved retirements. Alan Hardy has retired after 31 years. And then the moment that I personally have been dreading, Matt has announced that he plans to retire in June. So 33 years. We have some save the date things that Shauna will be handing out after commission meeting, so we can celebrate Matt's contributions to our airport and really to the entire region. We've added a couple of slides that we thought might be of interest to commission. One is for annual operations for GA, because I think this is something that's come up. So we've added that so you can see over the years how GA has operations have changed. We also have added information on cargo landings. Another data point. Total cargo. And then March, we always look at passenger enplanements. In March, enplanements were up 8% compared to 2022, which is, of course, fairly substantial. up 15% year to date compared to 2022. So the trend continues. We're hoping that it will start to level off because about March last year was about the point where we were exceeding 2019 levels. So, and then operating revenue, some changes there. The rental car concession increase is due in part at least to the COVID relief credit that was issued to them. We also changed our airline agreements. You remember we've talked about that multiple times. So the signatory airline fees have changed. Terminal concessions, both food and beverage and news and gift, continue to be up because of increased passenger. And then in advertising, again, this was part of a COVID relief measure. On the expense side, we do have some notable things and expenses. Parking is up substantially. Again, this is due to increased shuttle operations and credit card fees. Chemicals, it has to do with us replacing our chemical supply that we use for runway de-icing. R&M structural, we installed a new system that will allow us to track all of our fire suppression. It's called TrueSight Workstation. And it manages the entire safety network from one location. So that's an improvement. Some minor increases in power. And then the minor equipment has to do with some radio upgrades that we purchased for our emergency notification systems, and also some improvements to baggage handling. So. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is that a quick one? I was curious on what fell under other, because there was a significant boost in revenue there. And like what items are under the other?
I don't know exactly what's included under other. Kathleen, do you want to help me out with other?
Look, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things, but something's causing a spike there. So, other operating expenses.
And the revenue.
Yeah, I would have to look. I'm sorry. I don't know off the top of my head what spikes that.
We can get back to you on the answer to that. It's a mix of it's a wide range. So
All in there. Yep. Got it.
Any other questions? Commissioner comments?
Okay, I traveled United through Denver, direct from Denver to Puerto Vallarta, spent a week with family in the middle of April. It was quite lovely and easy travel. Easy travel. I joined Clear again, and boy, is that nice. Easy here, but really nice coming back. So anyway. It's $149 a year, which, you know, $12 a month. Not much if you travel a lot.
I just want to let everybody know that the Department of Aeronautics and Idaho is hosting a ACE Academy for students grades 9 through 12 this summer, June 21st through 23rd. So a 3-day course that it's a really good course. They go through all different aspects of aviation here and career opportunities. Their registration is open for anybody who's interested. So let me know. June 21st through 23rd.
Well, that's really good to know because it looks like we've got quite a pilot shortage
Yes,
nationwide.
definitely.
So it might be good to fill the pipeline with some of these interested kids.
Yeah, and different things like control tower and aircraft and ATC. So it should be a good event. And we get to go flying. Maybe with me.
That's a good time.
June 21st to 23rd.
Okay. Carrie?
Thank you. Well, thanks for your update, Rebecca. I was learning a lot every time you present. I just want to say thanks again for supporting IRU. That's a part of Rocky Mountain International. And we had some great feedback when they flew in, like Rebecca said, from 12 different countries. Not an easy feat, and they loved coming to Boise. And it's something that can happen here every 5 years. It has to rotate amongst the western states that participate. And one of the things I loved hearing, and I know it's been very intentional, is once they came to the airport, landed in the airport, how they felt like they were in Boise right away. So it's really being noticed and appreciate all of that. Thank you.
John?
I have a couple of comments. I attended the Boise Metro Chamber Leadership Conference in Sun Valley, and there were a couple of presentations that were relevant to our work here. One, there was an airport consultant whose name escapes me, but first of all, he was very complimentary of the airport and Director Hub. And he gave some insight into the decision-making that the major carriers go through in terms of selecting cities for either additional service or cutting services. So that was fascinating to me. There was another discussion. I think it was the first speaker of the conference that got up and spoke about the changing landscape or technology with drones. And he talked about two things that resonated with me. One was package delivery, which, you know, many of us probably utilize Amazon and those types of organizations for, you know, to get things at home. But evidently in certain markets, it's much more prevalent, and you know, you can get things delivered right to your yard. And he kind of talked about that. Immediately, I started thinking about all the, you know, the pollution in the air, visual pollution that you're going to see if this becomes more and more common. So then I started thinking about your concerns of having these things up in the air and with air travel. And the other thing he talked about was passenger travel with drones and like a taxi type service, you know, delivering folks from, you know, from the airport. Instead of hopping into a traditional taxi or an Uber, you get into a, you know, a drone that can carry a human being to your destination. It just kind of blew me away. So it sounds like it's actually in place in other countries. And it was hard for me to wrap my head around, but those are the things, you know, we're going to have to deal with at some point. So anyway, that's what I took away from that conference. It was well worth attending.
Commissioner Nancolis.
Well, thank you, and thank you for allowing me to join virtually today. I found out I had to work this morning in a little while, and just the travel made it a little inconvenient. So thank you for allowing that. I haven't traveled. I just want to say congratulations to Matt on your retirement. I wish you well. It's a pretty good gig, so I wish you well with that. Just a thank you again to Rebecca and staff for the wonderful job they do at the airport. I haven't traveled much. Like I say, I've been coaching my granddaughter's softball team. They had their first game last night and won. So onward and upward to the 12U team from Caldwell. Anyway, I just want to say thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Well, we completed our trip to Hawaii, from Hawaii, by flying back from Maui to Oakland to Boise. It went very smoothly. Oakland Airport's pretty user-friendly. Got a couple trips planned in May, but we'll talk about those later. Okay, new business.
The item that we have for new business is Kathleen is going to present and provide some information about our upcoming budget. Kathleen, do you want me to run the PowerPoint for you, or do you want to do it?
Fine.
All right, she trusts me to do it.
When it gets boring, she'll just flip the slide and I'll know I'm done. So we wanted to just give a little bit of context before we started where we ended at the end of fiscal year 2022. Cost per enplaned passenger is a metric that is used sort of across the airline industry, airport industry, to kind of show and compare airports. And what it is the amount of revenue you collect from airlines divided by the number of enplaned passengers you have, and gives them a sense of how much it costs to send somebody, or to get, actually, I guess, to get somebody from the Boise airport. So in fiscal year 2021, we were at 406, which is very low. And we exceeded that, 353 in fiscal year 2022. Part of that was because of the agreement we have with the airlines is very generous. The airlines was very generous with the airlines. And the Enplaned passengers, which honestly is almost the more important metrics, they're way up as we've been reporting to you. And so that brought us down to 353. Just as a comparison, Reno is somebody we often compare ourselves to because they're very similar to us in size, and they are at 783. And then for all medium hubs, the average is 790. 793 is for all medium hubs. So, all right. And then we lined ourselves up against the peer group that we generally use. So we've got Providence, who comes in at 1207. Oklahoma City was at 464. Tulsa 918, Tucson 610, Colorado Springs is making us look bad at 204. But I happen to know they're entering a period of extreme growth, and they also will be renegotiating their airline agreement. Right now they're at 204. Grand Rapids at 1056, El Paso 721, Des Moines 975, Boise. Charleston is also very comparable to us. It's very interesting. I visited that airport and they are just about exactly where we're at in terms of employments, growth and such. Anyway, interesting airport if you ever go through there. 809, Spokane 711, and Reno 1120. So that just gives you a sense of how we are compared to other airports. So then this is just, I won't go through each one, but this is where we sit then in terms of revenue. We were at 41.18 operating revenue. And this is how other airports have collected revenue. Now this varies very significantly from one airport to another. So it's kind of hard to compare yourselves. Reno, for example, has gambling income. You know, you'll have others that may, I don't know, they might even have mining or something unusual at the airport, but that just gives you a kind of a sense of where we're at, sort of in the middle.
By design, we're low because we want to be a low cost airport. So a lot of this reflects the fact that other airports are charging more, and we made a decision conscientiously to be a lower cost airport. So we could charge the airlines more, we could share less, but we want to provide an incentive for air service. Yeah.
Expenses, very similarly, we're just kind of in the middle, which is a good place to be. That's what we have for operating expenses there compared to our peers. This was also interesting for Enplaned passenger. We kind of look at this, although I'm not sure it's a great metric to use, but it kind of shows you how much debt each airport has. But it's very cyclical because it depends on whether you're in a period of growth and needing to build something, or if you're in a pause in between. But you know, this is where we're sitting. We're actually quite low, which is a good place to be in terms of debt, because we'll be taking on a lot more debt, obviously, when we build the concourse and the Conrack. So, but we're fairly low right now. So a little overview then on the 2024 budget. We're estimating 66.78 million in revenues and 59.27 in expenses. And then obviously we have a very large capital program going on right now. And so that's for an additional 111.2 million for capital projects. And this just gives you a sense of what the mix is. Parking and airlines are at 19% each. We've got, you know, other, obviously, I don't know what that means, right? Because you just asked me. Car rentals, industrial land rent, we've got PFCs, passenger facility charges, just for those who might be new, are it's a $4.50 fee that they add to each ticket. It's sort of like a local fee, and we use that. It's highly regulated, it goes to the FAA and whatnot, but we use that for a number of capital projects and other things at the airport. Customer facility charges, those are now at $6.50. Those are added as a per day on our rental cars. That will be used to fund the parking garage. Grants, those we're estimating about 14%. And then terminal concessions are at 6% right now. And this just gives you very, mile wide. This is just what percent, we use about 10% on personnel, 25% on M&O, and then 65% for our capital program. And then I'm not even gonna bother with all this, but these are just interestingly where we're spending our funds. So you can see some of the big ones are, you know, repair and maintenance for the terminal, obviously gonna be a large account. Indirect costs are the funds that get paid through to Boise City because they perform a lot of functions for us. Finance, treasury, legal, various things. Professional services is quite high right now. And that's because of all these large programs that we're having to do and a lot of construction. Management, what do they call that? Where's Matt? He can't retire. Program management, thank you. That's why we make the engineers come every time. What's that word? Then we've got the bond expenses, and that's how much debt service we're paying on our bonds. But that just kind of gives you a sense of where we're at, how much we are paying for things. And so in terms of budget expense, the large increases we have is the $5.2 million in bond interest. So of course, we're starting the debt service on our garages. So that's that's a large increase for us. Parking management, it has increased significantly, but that's also because our parking revenues have increased significantly. And so those are the additional expenses we're anticipating as part of the parking program. Personnel expenses is going to go up by 1.6 million. We've asked for an additional 12. There are other increases built in there, but also we have asked for an additional 12 positions. And then we've got an increase to our police and fire. They've both gone through union negotiations, and there's a change in how they're charging through indirect costs. So we're expecting another 1.5 million approximately on each of those. And then this is a big one, although you, I'm sure, have heard quite a bit about our capital projects, but these are the large capital projects that are going into that 111 million. The rental car, we're asking for 65 million. That is actually about half of what it's going to cost because we asked for 60 in the last budget, and we'll roll that over and combine it with that 65 to get us somewhere in the 110 to 120 range on that. We've got a taxiway D relocation, which is 11 million. We're hoping most of that or a lot of that will be paid with FAA grants that we get. They're entitlement grants called Airport Improvement Program grants. And then we can also use some of our passenger facility charges to help with that project. Then we have a runway improvement mitigation design. So this is I guess you'd say that's sort of offsetting the runways. And we've been working on that for a long time. The FAA is really pushing for us to do that. And so we are expecting to spend 6.5 million in design for that. Ultimately, we're hoping to get some discretionary funds from FAA to work on that. But anyway, that's the design piece of that. And then we've got the two getting ready for the future concourse A. And so we've got Concourse A apron construction. That will be the first phase, about 4.2 million. Concourse A planning, 4 million. A lot of that will be reimbursed through the passenger facility charges that we get. So I have questions.
Kathleen, what is your projection of the cost per employment for this year? It's the 353.
I think we're thinking it'll come in closer to 5. Yeah, we've got a lot of variables up in the air right now. We were thinking it might be a little bit higher, but our employments are really strong. So that really is almost the larger factor there. So we'll see how that goes.
Kathleen, the revenue, 14% in grants, is that something that's recurring that you can count on?
So it kind of depends. Right now, we've got some of those infrastructure grants that are in there. Those are unusual, but we'll be lasting for about 5 years, I think, another 4 years maybe. We have the Airport Improvement Program funds. Those are entitlement funds, but then when you move into Medium Hub, then they do cut those back a little bit. So I think we're at about 4 or 5 million on that. And then we can apply for any number of different discretionary grants. It kind of depends on what they've got going. Some low energy type grants we apply for. So it's a really a mixed bag.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rebecca, what is the current estimated completion date on the public parking garage?
This summer, so I'm hoping July, but it could be August.
Okay. Thank you. Right, I think we are at the Q&A. If we have any members of the public that would like to address the commission, now's the time.
I see no hands raised online.
You have one online?
There is now. Brianna Leclerc.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, so this is Brianna Leclerc. I'm the manager of Ponderosa Aero Club. I noticed that the personnel expense for the airport increased by almost $1 million from last year to this, and I was wondering why that was. Thanks.
All right, I can answer that. It's a combination of things. For one thing, we're adding several new positions. We're adding some airfield maintenance people, some custodial people. We're adding a new project manager to help with the construction projects that we're doing. And then also increases to benefits, health insurance, those things. And then also salary increases. So all of those things combined increase to our personnel increases.
For chair.
All right, very good, thank you.
Yeah, and Rebecca, just a reminder that we hired a third party to come in and look at our staffing levels and identify weaknesses, areas of opportunity, especially with our move to a medium hub. And so I assume some of these positions are in anticipation of that continued growth and the staff needed to support it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Meg. And I think a couple things, we're trying to accommodate growth and accommodate the demands of our passengers and our flying community in terms of, airfield maintenance. But also we're looking at adding people who can actually add value to our team, either through project management, property development, some of those things that, yes, we're, applying for more grants, all of those things. We can't do the work if we don't have the staff, and we don't want to miss an opportunity at the airport, because we just don't have the capacity to do it. So all of these things take people.
Well, if you can get good staff these days, that's an accomplishment because it's harder and harder, it seems like.
Amen.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Anybody here? All right. Looks like we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn this commission.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
No, my wife did.
Yeah, my wife.